Part 49. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 481. Is there really a problem? This was just a guess in advance. I didn't expect that I could hit the mark with my guess. According to Bai Ya, there is probably a large-scale organization behind He Tianqing. Bai Ya needs time. Yingwan only thought for a second and quickly came up with the answer. I can't tell Tsinghua and Peking University first. Before I have solid evidence, Yingwan's actions will alert the enemy. She may be able to find out He Tianqing, but if He Tianqing is involved in large-scale academic fraud, it will definitely be a very serious accident, and it may even cause a major earthquake. For a researcher, there is no doubt that the most annoying thing is academic fraud. Yingwan is even more. In Yingwan's eyes, if she understands, and if she doesn't understand, she doesn't understand. She has received so many people and things so many times. Whether they are truly talented or not can be seen at a glance in front of her, but after more experience, most of them at least don't understand, and there is no fake. He Tianqing is also the first person Yingwan has faced who can even falsify papers. Since he dares to falsify papers, it means that this is not the first time he has done such a thing. Bai Ya said, I need some time, boss, there is something serious behind this. I have a feeling that it involves a lot of things, and from the current point of view, it is not just He Tianqing from Tsinghua University and Peking University. I saw the news on Weibo now, saying that He Tianqing plagiarized someone else's theory and was exposed. Yingwan was silent for a while, then said, he plagiarized my theory. I registered an account in a forum. At that time, I discussed some aspects of AI with others and came up with several hypothetical theories. He Tianqing saw it and copied it into his speech, so it was seen by the people who discussed with me. Bai Ya. This is simply the biggest joke in the world. If He Tianqing plagiarized someone else, it would be fine, but he actually plagiarized Yingwan? Bai Ya's tone suddenly added a kind of gloating of watching the fun. Does he know? Yingwan, if he knew, do you think he would have the guts? Bai Ya, awesome, really awesome, okay, I know how to do this, it's wonderful, really. This is the first time Bai Ya has seen someone plagiarizing Yingwan's things without knowing the consequences. Isn't that waiting to die? After this matter was exposed to the world, He Tianqing's future was ruined. No matter how powerful the person behind him was, he couldn't save him. Bai Ya hung up the phone excitedly, his tone full of waiting to see the excitement. After hanging up the phone, Yingwan still looked at the internet. This matter is in the academic world. Although He Tianqing is a celebrity, he is not very famous. Because of this, it was on the hot search, but it was at the end, and the popularity was not very high. In addition, Tsinghua and Peking University probably didn't want this matter to be exposed, so they suppressed the news. At this time, Yingwan's mobile phone received a text message. The ID account she used to discuss with Lonely Genius on the forum was cancelled. She did nothing. It was obviously not her who cancelled the account. Yingwan, who had been protected in the ivory tower all her life, saw the evil of capitalism for the first time. Yingwan. The Lonely Genius quickly sent a message, damn, the people behind the forum are in cahoots with that He Tianqing, and they cancelled our account. Fortunately, I saved the record before, but now I'm in trouble. I just have to watch He Tianqing fart over there. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 482. Yingwan was not panicked. To be more precise, this matter did not even make her panic. She slowly replied, don't swear. Lonely Genius, brother, what do you think about this matter? Yingwan, don't worry, I now suspect that there is an organization behind He Tianqing that specializes in academic fraud. I have received some information and it is still under investigation. Don't alarm the enemy. You can continue to harass He Tianqing online. I will ask you to protect your information. You are abroad now, so it should be okay, right? Yingwan has seen a lot of hot searches for so long and knows some of the sexy operations of human flesh searches. She saw that He Tianqing still had a lot of fans, and was afraid that He Tianqing's fans would go crazy and directly dox the lonely genius. Lonely genius, it's not a big problem even if my surface information is made public online. They can't find me. I'm in Kongsberg now, very far away. It's okay, I'll see what tricks He Tianqing can play. Yingwan pondered for a moment and analyzed, since he just sent a forged record and now cancelled our forum account, we have lost the original evidence. He can whitewash the remaining screenshots as our forgeries. I guess he will still come out to clarify the next step. I think he is also a short video celebrity. He will come out to clarify and continue to put the blame on us. Don't worry, this matter will be over in 2 days at most. 1. I want to find out the organization behind him. Lonely Genius is also a little worried. Lonely Genius, if our guess is true, he really has that kind of special organization, then this matter involves a lot of things. I'm afraid he will encounter some problems. Are you in China now? You should pay attention to safety. You shouldn't use any real information on the forum, right? You only need to register with a phone number on that forum. Yingwan used her own phone number, but her phone number is encrypted. Not to mention that no one can find it. The number is still assigned by the forum, and there is no real information about her, so even if there is a phone number, Yingwan's real information cannot be found. Because if it is found, He Tianqing should clean his neck and think about how to die, instead of jumping up and down to deny it. Wan, no, don't worry, they can't find me. Seeing Yingwan say this, Luo Junling was relieved a little. Of course, he would continue to deal with He Tianqing online for the rest of the time. As Yingwan said, He Tianqing made a clarification on Weibo. At least it was on Weibo's hot search, and Tsinghua and Peking University could not pretend that it didn't happen. He Tianqing had to clarify it. In his clarification, he said that the video of the speech was completely slandered by others, and his theory was discussed 2 months ago, and it was also attacked by hackers in the middle. Even if there was any information leakage, it was definitely not copied from others by him. This is a complete scapegoating. Even if some people don't believe it, now that Yingwan and Luo Junling's accounts have been cancelled and their posts have been deleted, some fans think that Luo Junling is guilty. But some people are not stupid. What's wrong with them? They hacked your computer and got your theory and openly discussed it on the forum. Why don't I believe the whole clarification? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 483. Even if you don't believe it, passers-by can't provide any evidence. Anyway, Yazzie always felt that something was wrong, as if He Tianqing was playing tricks on them. The ID was cancelled, and He Tianqing was not completely relieved. King Bei said that slander is not a trivial matter. This is pouring dirty water on a future pillar and asking him to call the police. However, according to the information provided on the forum, there is one person whose information can be investigated, and that is Luo Junling. First of all, the other person is abroad, and he is a highly regarded genius. It is absolutely impossible to be returned to the country. Only the one who proposed the theory people, with no information except a phone number. This made He Tianqing feel a little uneasy. Uneasy. While this matter was making waves online, Yingwan was not anxious at all. He waited for news from Bai Yat and even received a call from Si Lu. Yesterday's date made him feel very happy. Today he called and asked what Yingwan was doing. His father's birthday was 2 days away, so Yingwan would be free in the imperial palace during this period. Yingwan did not tell Si Lu about He Tianking's matter. It was just a trivial matter. He just said to him, "I'm still watching videos about AI." Si Lu laughed in a deep voice, "You are really serious?" When he was speaking, there was a faint noise coming from the other side, and the end of Si Lu's words immediately disappeared, as if he had heard something bad and lost his voice. Yingwan was slightly surprised. "It sounds pretty noisy over there." Si Lu, a little thing. There was something cold about these words, and it sounded like he was not happy, and he couldn't even restrain himself in front of Yingwan. Yingwan heard it and asked naturally, "What's the matter?" The other side probably hesitated for a few seconds before Si Lu said, "Your sister had an accident some time ago, and you met the crazy woman's grandfather in the hospital." Yingwan suddenly thought about it and suddenly said, "Oh, Ma Lixuan, the granddaughter of Mr. Ma Jun." Si Lu was a little embarrassed. "Why do you remember her name when you have nothing to do?" Si Lu felt that such a lunatic was an insult to Yingwan. Fortunately, he heard the name of this lunatic from Yingwan's mouth. He felt completely tainted by Yingwan. Yingwan laughed and said, "What happened to her? Is it possible that she wasn't sent to the hospital for treatment?" Si Lu was probably angry when he mentioned this matter. "It's Ma Jun. You should at least call me old man. He is your elder and he was also a hero in the past." Yingwan's voice was soft. Even though Silv was not happy, he calmed down, but his voice was cold. "Yes, it's because of him. Some time ago, his granddaughter committed suicide and I ignored it. During this time, it became more serious. The suicide entered. The hospital told me that they had to marry me. My dad would definitely not pay attention to such a lunatic." Ma Jun, the old man, didn't know if he was really afraid that his granddaughter would be gone, so he actually came to my dad's door to beg me, saying that he would let me do it for the sake of appearance. I don't want Kung Fu to lie to his granddaughter, but he actually wants to kneel down to my father. Wan Wan, tell me, is he crazy for something that is not his own granddaughter?" Si Lu was not talking about Ma Lixuan, but he felt sad for Mr. Ma Jun. After all, he was a hero when he was young, but he didn't expect that he would go so crazy over a granddaughter when he was old. This matter is now being talked about throughout the imperial city. Others refuse to listen to him, but how can the Si family follow him? Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 484. Even if Si Lu was willing, Si Guanyi would never agree. He asked Si Lu to come back once because Mr. Ma had done favors for the Si family, but this favor was not very big. At most, it was just a formality. The fact that Si Guanyi could remember it meant that he was grateful. Everyone knew Si Lu's temper. He was a jerk. He was even more of a jerk in the imperial capital. Even Si Guanyi couldn't control him, let alone an outsider. The last time Ma Jun came to ask Si Guanyi for help, Si Guanyi already thought it was outrageous. Si Lu almost got angry with him before he saw it. After all, this jerk had encountered something recently and was a little happy. He must hope that it would be better to have less trouble. Then Mr. Ma came again. Si Guanyi could only go through the motions to comfort him, but he didn't expect the other party's request to be so outrageous. And asked Si Lu to accompany Ma Lixuan for a while. Si Guanyi didn't dare to let Si Lu go out to see Mr. Ma, mainly because he was afraid that Si Lu would say something like "stay away from me" and anger the old man to death. But in his heart, he was unbelievable and thought that Mr. Ma was really crazy. Si Lu was talking to Yingwan on the phone inside, and Si Guanyi's voice outside still sounded so elegant and gentle. "Uncle Ma, I think you should be more open-minded about some things. Your daughter has been dead for many years. Some people are not her even if they look like her. Based on her performance today, do you think that if your daughter were still alive, she would see that the great father she admired all her life had become so humble just for an outrageous request?" There seemed to be tears in the old eyes of Mr. Ma Jun when he heard Si Guanyi's words. His lips trembled, his hands leaned on the cane, but his head tilted to the other side, probably because of shame. I know that too. But after all, she has grown up to this age and is treated as his own granddaughter. Ma Jun really doesn't want to see her in the hospital. Just let Si Lu go to see her, just see her. He still begged like this. Si Guanyi saw that Mr. Ma was now unmoved. Maybe he was getting more and more confused as he got older. He just smiled at the corners of his lips, but he didn't want to say a single extra word. His voice was still gentle. Uncle Ma, I can't make the decision on this matter. I said, Si Lu is Si Lu, I can't control him. He has to be busy with company matters recently and can't see you. Please forgive me. Ma Jun couldn't tell that he was refusing. If he hadn't heard that Si Lu was at home today, he wouldn't have come directly. At this time, Si Lu suddenly walked out. Old man Ma Jun suddenly became excited. Si Guanyi frowned slightly, but Si Lu curled his lips and looked at old man Ma Jun. Old man, I have someone here who wants to talk to you. Ma Jun was stunned for a moment, but still asked, who? Si Lu held the phone in his hand and handed it to him. Ma Jun took it and put the phone to his ear, only to hear a calm and clear female voice, Mr. Ma Jun, hello, I am Yingwan. The name Yingwan, as long as it is said, it is absolutely well known. Old man Ma Jun's pupils shrank. You. No matter what, he knew the super genius who made great contributions to the country. Yingwan's voice was cold, but there was no disrespect. He only said, I know you are worried about your granddaughter recently, but my suggestion in this case is to control it and treat it in time. Other methods may be counterproductive. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 485. Mr. Ma paused. In fact, he and Yingwan had no interaction, but they had only heard of the super genius. Who wouldn't envy having such a child? Mr. Ma is also envious, but after all, he is someone else's child. The two of them hadn't even spoken, so Si Lu handed Yingwan's phone number to him. When he heard the girl's words of persuasion, Mr. Ma was a little confused. I know what you mean. Mr. Ma hesitated. Yingwan. Yingwan's voice was calm. Yes, Mr. Ma, Si Lu is my boyfriend. Mr. Ma's eyes widened. Now he looked at Si Lu again. The unpredictable man just lowered his eyes and looked to the side as if he didn't care much. The curve of the corners of his lips was somewhat cold and sarcastic. He really didn't expect Si Lu to be able to be with Yingwan. Then she thought about how Si Lu gave her cell phone to her, and the other party explained so simply and clearly that Si Lu was her boyfriend. Mr. Ma was not an old fool, so how could he not understand what Yingwan meant? Your boyfriend, do you let him accompany other women? If it were anyone else, Mr. Ma would still rely on his elders to show off his talents, but in front of Yingwan, he really didn't have the confidence to do so. In terms of merit, one is a former hero, and the other is the eyeball that the country values and the super genius who leads the development of the country. He values more than life. No matter where he goes, no one will stand on his side. Mr. Ma also understood what Yingwan meant. His voice was a little hoarse, and he felt that all the words were stuck in his throat, unable to speak or swallow. Yingwan was not related to him, so saying this was already over the line, and the meaning was very clear. After a long while, Mr. Ma heard his dry voice, I know. He could say those outrageous things to Si Guanyi based on previous favors, but in front of Yingwan, he couldn't say anything. He actually understood everything. He could read it before, but now that Si Lu is Yingwan's boyfriend, the meaning is different. There was no lack of respect for him in Yingwan's voice, and she said naturally, as long as you understand, please give Si Lu your cell phone. I have something to say to him. Mr. Ma Jun returned the phone to Si Lu blankly. Si Lu just glanced at him, took the phone and continued talking to Ying Wan. Just looking at his expression, he was quite happy. How could he be unhappy? What Ying Wan said was a direct confession of his identity. Si Guanyi looked on with curiosity and couldn't help but ask, whose phone number did he take to listen to you? Why is it that Mr. Ma seems to have lost his soul when he hears it? Mr. Ma murmured, you didn't say before that your son's girlfriend was Ying Wan. Si Guanyi? He suddenly thought of something and looked at Si Lu in disbelief. His tone was not so calm for a moment. Did you really catch me? Extremely surprised. Mr. Ma could only smile bitterly. I know that I forced this matter into something difficult for others. He lamented and could only say, it's all fate. Si Guanyi. He smiled and said nothing, but his eyes were now focused on Si Lu, who was talking to Ying Wan over there. Seeing how the matter was resolved, Mr. Ma could only find an excuse to leave, so Si Guanyi naturally wanted to see him off. When he came back, Si Lu had already hung up the phone and looked like he was about to go out. Si Guanyi immediately stopped him and said, I have something to tell you. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 486. Si Lu stopped where he was, his tall and slender body standing there, looking at his father with amusement. Are you going to pour cold water on me again? Si Guanyi pressed his temple. When did you get together with Ying Wan? Why didn't you tell me such an important thing earlier? We have just confirmed our relationship. Si Lu shrugged, knowing that Ma Jun knew it just now, and his father would know it sooner or later, so he stopped hiding it. It's just a few days. I was planning to introduce it to you formally on your birthday. Si Guanyi looked at Si Lu in disbelief. This is the only misjudgment in my life. Hearing this, Si Lu's face darkened. Do you think I can't catch up with Ying Wan? You are my father, but you don't even think about supporting me. Si Guanyi, this is just a reasonable calculation. He glanced at Si Lu casually. Few people will believe you if you tell it out, but now that you are really dating her, you have some points. If you mess around outside, I can't protect you when the higher UPS find you in trouble. If you dare to be with Ying Wan, you must be mentally prepared. The higher UPS will definitely investigate Si Lu's entire family, but the Si family is not afraid of this because of their clean family background. However, Si Lu's life will definitely be monitored in the future. After all, the person with him is Ying Wan, and this is not something that can be easily fooled. Si Lu just sneered and said, I'm going to the company. Si Guanyi didn't say anything this time, just watched Si Lu leave. After a while, he sneered and showed a smile on his face. Ying Wan confessed her identity to Mr. Ma, and also made him understand that since Si Lu is her boyfriend, she, as a girlfriend, certainly can't watch her boyfriend go with another woman. This is not about whether it should be done or not, but a rather outrageous thing. With Ying Wan here to pressure him, Mr. Ma can't find any reason or excuse no matter what. She is not his granddaughter herself, and anyone who is involved in this matter will only think that Mr. Ma is doing something outrageous. After the call, Si Lu said that after Mr. Ma left, Ying Wan would not take this matter to heart. She had to do other things. The lonely genius Luo Junling sent her a message, saying that he was going back to China. According to the agreed time, he was supposed to arrive the day after Si Guanyi's birthday. But if Luo Junling returned to China at this juncture, he would definitely attract some attention. He said that his mobile phone had begun to receive inexplicable warning messages. The other party did not reveal anything, whether it was related to He Tianqing, and only left a vague sentence, and the message was automatically deleted. If you are good at computers, it is not difficult to make a simple program. There was no chance to leave evidence for Luo Junling, which also proved that this matter was indeed more complicated than they thought. He Tianqing had someone behind him, and he didn't want this matter to get out of hand, and now he began to warn Luo Junling. If Luo Junling was really just an ordinary student, no matter if he was a genius or not, he would be controlled and compromised, but Yingwan intervened in this matter. Yingwan stayed at home in the morning. She did some experiments in the morning and made herself a simple lunch at noon. After eating, she poured a cup of coffee on the table and took out her mobile phone to check the information on Weibo. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 487. The hot search has basically been suppressed. Now Weibo is full of trivial matters about celebrities. Occasionally, you can still see information about Lin Mei. Suhan suddenly sent Yingwan a few screenshots. When he was at home, Suhan and his friends were not at Yingwan's house, but lived downstairs from her, or in other places in the same community. This kind of high-end apartment must be safe. They only need to protect her nearby, not close to her. So now if there is news, they can only choose to call Yingwan or send a message. The screenshots he sent made Yingwan feel a little ridiculous. She received the same threatening text message as Luo Junling, but this time it hit Yingwan's phone, and the message was intercepted by the assistant before she could delete it. It was said earlier that if Yingwan's mobile phone information is not a specific allowed person, it cannot be called or sent. It is obvious that this person belongs to this category, so the special assistant saw it and immediately intercepted the text message and forwarded it to Suhan, the boss of the special security team, and sent a message to the upper level. Now they have begun to investigate who is behind the threatening text message. The other party had no idea how outrageous it was to send a threatening message to Yingwan. Earlier, Yingwan had planned to let Bai Ya handle the matter, but now that it involved Yingwan himself, the higher UPS had begun to pay attention. Why not threaten anyone else? If you dare to threaten an academician, aren't you looking for death? In fact, this is normal. According to the normal development process, the other party could not know that the person on the phone was an outrageous person like Yingwan. They might just think that he was a student similar to Luo Junling, or even if he was a professional professor, they would not be afraid, so they sent threatening text messages without any scruples. Suhan also said, "We have kept the screenshots now." The message was sent in the morning. The other party has some means and should have deliberately hidden his IP address. At the latest, we will be able to find the other party in 10 minutes. Don't worry. I'm not worried. Yingwan smiled and said, "I know who the other party is. If the information is found out, there is no need to alarm the snake. This person should be related to He Tianqing. The special security team does not care about these civilian matters, but if it is Yingwan who said it, it will be different." She told him about He Tianqing, and then said, "Integrate the evidence and submit it to me. I know how to deal with it." Suhan immediately understood what Yingwan meant, and immediately said, "No problem, Miss Ying." He Tianqing was also worried for a day until he received a text message from a mysterious person, who said that everything had been handled. She also called him and said, "The other party has received the message. If he knows what's good for him, he won't interfere in this matter again. We will deal with Luo Junling. Don't worry, he can't make any waves." The other party had a special voice, a mechanical voice with a voice changer. It was obviously not a normal human voice, and it was impossible to tell whether the other party was a man or a woman. He Tianqing was relieved when he heard this. "That's good. Anyway, you were too impulsive this time. If there is a next time, we will no longer support you. You have brought us great risks." The other party was obviously very dissatisfied with He Tianqing's behavior, and at this time he was completely complaining over the phone, Why did you copy theories that we haven't dealt with on the internet without authorization? Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 488. If it has not been processed, it means it has not passed through their hands. Other people's original works, unauthorized use can easily cause big trouble. He Tianqing got into such trouble this time. He Tianqing also felt guilty. After thinking for a while, he still defended himself, then I didn't have any other way. At that time, the school was eager to release a speech video. This speech was very useful to me. The theories you provided were not effective enough for me. I saw them on the forum by chance. Those who can put forward such theories on that forum are probably just lucky. Maybe they are just ordinary students. As long as they are students or have no big background, it is too easy to solve. If they really have a big background, would the other party be anonymous on a forum? And easily disclose their theories on such a forum? He Tianqing said confidently, the other party didn't write a theory, so it can't be reprinted. But you are saying it's your original work now. The person on the other end of the phone was not deceived by He Tianqing. I tell you, this matter is very serious. You'd better behave yourself in the future and restrain your fans online. We know how to deal with Luo Junling, but if your fans keep making trouble, they will make this matter public online. If someone finds something wrong, your previous papers will not be able to be saved. You know your own weight. He Tianqing heard this, and a trace of malice flashed in his eyes, as well as unwillingness. The other party was right. He knew his own weight. It's not that he didn't have the ability to write those papers, but he could only write them when he saw similar papers. He himself had the corresponding knowledge reserves, but unfortunately he lacked a little imagination and creativity. So the results of the papers he handed in were always unsatisfactory. The sound of beeping rang in his ears, and the other party had hung up the phone. He Tianqing also knew the seriousness of what he said, so he turned on his phone and prepared to notify the fans in the fan group not to continue to trouble Luo Junling. At the same time, He Tianqing also received a message. Luo Junling bought a ticket back home. Not sure if it was related to this incident, but later he saw that the itinerary was stipulated by their school. He returned to China for other things, so there was no need to rush back to China to trouble He Tianqing for a theory on the internet. But He Tianqing was still annoyed with Luo Junling in his heart. If this person hadn't been looking for trouble, the fact that he borrowed other people's theories would not have been exposed. It's just 2 theories, what's the big deal? He was simply looking for trouble. Thinking this way, He Tianqing decided to find someone to monitor Luo Junling first. Make sure that the other party can behave honestly during this period after returning to the United States. Although the person said that they could handle it, after all, it was related to his future, so He Tianqing was still a little worried. He would not have thought at this time what was waiting for him later. Just before Si Guanyi's death, Yingwan took time to visit Lin Mei in the afternoon. After that, Lin Mei was discharged from the hospital and returned to the crew to continue filming. The next day, the grand event that the entire imperial capital was paying attention to arrived. This grand event was Si Guanyi's birthday. After all, his identity was extraordinary, and those who attended the birthday party were all well-known figures, so today was destined to be a lively day. Yingwan did not deliberately make a high profile, nor did she want to be discovered in the spotlight, because she was taken to the Si family by Si Lu early in the morning. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 489. Si Guanyi's birthday was held at the Si family mansion. The front hall is open and is a place for guests to hang out. The backyard is where Si's family rests and no one can come in. Tonight is the important moment. There were not many guests in the morning, but those who came were all important guests that Si Guanyi valued. He needed to socialize in person, and Si Lu had to be busy today. He went there early to greet Wan. Let Ying Wan take a look at the place where he lived since childhood. You only came to my house for one meal, and you didn't even have time to see where I lived last time. Si Lu pushed Ying Wan's body along the corridor. This entire building was his private residence, and it was also located in the backyard of the Si family's mansion. Except for the servants and Si Guanyi who came occasionally, most of them were his own territory. Ying Wan told the truth, there was no need to see your room at that time, and I wasn't interested. After all, as long as they live in places, they are basically the same. Tisk Si Lu also knew her character and pointed around, I want you to look at the place in advance. If you are not satisfied, we can move out in the future. Ying Wan. He had already thought about the future. At this time, Ying Wan hadn't thought too much about this matter. She just turned around and glanced at Si Lu's face. He looked calm and obviously didn't think she was talking nonsense. The decoration style of Si Lu's home is very simple. Because he lives in the whole building alone, the style is relatively dark. It is surrounded by beautifully carved marble decoration, and even the style of the furniture tends to be dark. However, there is enough light, which does not make people feel depressed and dark, but it can also be clearly felt that the owner of the house is a person who prefers dark style. A person with an indifferent style. Calm and disciplined. He was like this in front of others, but she had never noticed it in front of Ying Wan. After Si Lu brought Ying Wan in, he received a phone call. The person on the phone was his former best friend, who grew up in Imperial City. He still had a few friends. Knowing that Si Guanyi's birthday was today, he arrived at Si's house early to have fun with Si Lu. Si Lu said in a concise manner, get out. Other side. The role of a best friend is not to accept such humiliation. What do you mean? I said not long ago that we would gather together for your father's birthday, but you said that, Brother Lu, you can't do this. Don't think that you have a girlfriend like Academician Ying. You can do whatever you want. Si Lu, she is with me now. Other side. The best friend hung up the phone very wisely. Ying Wan heard some of the content of the phone call and said, since we are friends, you still have to go out to receive us. Today is a special day. Your dad doesn't want you to stay here all the time. He is Si Guanyi's only son and has to shoulder the responsibility as the head of the family. Si Lu thought about it and knew it, then said, you are here alone. If you get bored, there are everything in the cinema here. If you need anything, call me. Ying Wan nodded, I know. Si Lu still glanced at Ying Wan with some worry, and felt a little reluctant to leave, but today was a special day after all, and he still had to go down and receive the guests like his father. This was basic etiquette. No matter how ignorant you are, you still have to bear what you should bear. After Si Lu went down, Ying Wan started to wander around Si Lu's house with some curiosity. Becoming the Richest by Farming. Author, Gu Mushuang. Chapter 490. Si Lu's room doesn't like to be disturbed. But he didn't tell Ying Wan not to, nor did he restrict Ying Wan from going anywhere. He lives on the 5th floor, a very high place. You can see the nearest magnificent building. The Si family mansion is located in the downtown area, but it occupies an absolute area. It is quiet in the midst of the hustle and bustle, and the surroundings are very quiet. To have such a building in such a place is itself a sky-high price. This also indirectly shows the status of the Si family. In the past, Ying Wan would not be interested in other people's living places, but because it was Si Lu's home, she couldn't help but be a little curious. She quickly came to Si Lu's bedroom. His bedroom was clean and tidy, and there was not even much life atmosphere. Maybe it was because he put everything in order, and even the things he used would not show traces, which also indirectly showed his character. And he has extremely serious cleanliness. The whole house was spotless. The only thing that surprised Yingwan was that she found a large portrait on the wall opposite to Si Lu's bedroom. It was painted, and the style was almost realistic, so Yingwan could tell who this person was at a glance. This was Si Lu's mother. This was a very beautiful one. In the portrait, she was wearing a red cheongsam, with bright colors and exquisite and beautiful facial features, like the brightest sun in the world, the most dazzling pearl. She smiled at the corners of her mouth, and her eyes looked at the outside of the portrait very gently. She looked very similar to Si Lu. Si Lu's appearance was of course a perfect inheritance of his mother's advantages. Yingwan had heard some brief information about Si Lu's mother. His mother was a famous socialite in the entire imperial capital. She was noble and generous, and her family background was even more powerful. Si Guanyi fell in love with her at first sight. She was the most dazzling pearl in the entire imperial capital. There were countless people chasing her. She was the treasure of many people at that time. I don't know how many people of Si Guanyi's generation are still missing this most beautiful woman in the imperial capital. Unfortunately, she proved the saying, beauty is short-lived. She died too early, in a plane crash in the second year after giving birth to Si Lu. This was an unprecedented blow to Si Guanyi, and I don't know how many people sighed at the time. She and Si Guanyi were simply a match made in heaven. Both of them were the most prestigious prodigies in the imperial capital, and I don't know how many people envied them. This most dazzling pearl disappeared in the long river of time. At that time, Yingwan, who was studying at school, even heard some rumors about Si Lu's mother. Even the teachers at school said that Si Lu's mother was also a very smart woman. If she hadn't died, she might have become one of Yingwan's teachers. Yingwan had never heard Si Lu mention anything about his mother. This might be a taboo. He had a strange temper since he was a child, which might have something to do with the fact that his mother died when he was very young. All we know is that Si Guanyi has not remarried for so many years. No one knows his attitude, but at least no one has ever doubted his sincerity to Si Lu's mother. This is evident from the fact that she has not remarried or caused any scandals for so many years and has focused on raising Si Lu. Si Lu is not completely without any impression of his mother, and this painting is the best proof. One can tell who it is clearly with just one look.